You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 294.
Hi everybody and welcome back on this beautiful April Sunday morning. The sun is shining, beaming through the windows. I'm staring out and I can see blossom on the neighbours' trees. I was out yesterday in good old Blighty, and you can tell when it's getting warm in Blighty, can't you? Because people start to have barbecues. Any excuse to have a barbecue. And also, they have the brave, foolish young'uns taking their shirts off. So yes, there must be some sunshine in the air. Well, this is part 2 of the 3-part series dedicated to the outdoor show. Andy's disc of interviews has finally arrived. Hurrah, and thanks to everybody for nagging him. So we have a real plethora during this podcast. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 interviews. So there's a real mix in here, hopefully some of which will be of interest to you. Now, if you're enjoying these podcasts, which I hope you are, I get a lot of feedback these days, and we'll be reading some out in later shows. I would love it if you wouldn't mind, and you're on the website at the moment, or the internet, there's a link on the Backpacking Light website or on the Outdoor Station to the European Podcast Awards. Well, thanks to everybody who voted for us last year. We won the UK Business Podcaster, and it would be nice to maintain that if at all possible, and even go a stage further and get to the European level, which would be fantastic. So if you can spare 5 minutes, I think it's just a case of click and send to vote. We would appreciate it. I would appreciate it, and it gives me a little bit of feedback for the hours spent doing this. As I say, it is a Sunday, and I intend to go out for a bike ride this afternoon once I get this all edited and loaded. Anyway, let's get stuck into the show. Now, of course, the outdoor show was up at the NEC recently, and Andy and I met up there on the Friday. He went one way, and I went the other. And the first person that he spoke to, he thought it was a good start to go and speak to somebody who was organising this forthcoming Keswick Mountain Festival. Lucy is one of the organisers there. We've seen a lot of promotion for this festival, dotted around the magazines and the internet and so on. So, of course, Andy wanted to find out more and what we could expect if you wanted to venture up there.
Keswick is also well known for its mountain festival, which this year is happening from the 19th to the 23rd of May. And I have Lucy with me, who's the director of the festival. Lucy, what can we expect this year?
The festival is really a great celebration of the outdoors, everything you can do in the Lake District and Keswick itself. You can book onto guided walks, guided bike rides, guided climbs, paddling sessions on Derwent Water. We also run sporting competitions as well. You can have a go, or you can participate in triathlons. We have a trail race, we have a fell race. We also work with the climbing wall to put on a dry tooling competition. We also run a mountain bike event as well at the festival. The festival also has a festival village called the Adventure Base, where people can come along and look at stands, have a go at taster activities if you've kind of never tried anything in the outdoors. So we have climbing walls there. We also have a go paddling sessions, loads for the kids as well. So we have bushcraft demonstrations, some stuff for the smaller kids, kind of yoga sessions on the park, and lots of different things. So something for everybody.
So if you want to be really cool and do a hardcore, do a triathlon or a long mountain fell race, you can. But if you want to take the young kids and have them have a great time and yet still experience a bit of the outdoors, you can as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the festival really encompasses everything for everybody. With families, we have family adventure days that families can participate in, as well as family climbing days as well. On the adventure base itself, we kind of cater for the children, and we have lots of activities for them.
Lots to do in the evenings?
Yep, we have a fantastic speaker programme. We've got Cicerone speaking this year, along with Leo Holding, Andy Cave, Andy Kirkpatrick, Joss Naylor, and Paul Errington, who's an endurance mountain biker. So we also run a party in the evening on Friday and Saturday night as well.
Okay, so I guess there are a lot of people that know about the festival, have not been there, but I'd certainly recommend it. And it's 19th to the 23rd of May, something there for everybody. Lucy, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
I've reached a stand that's fascinating, but it's going to be quite a challenge to describe in audio. But anyway, let's have a go at it. I'm at the Wapentack stand with Alison, and Wapentack produces metallic 3D models, maps of your favourite outdoor locations. So see if you can have a go at explaining to me, because these are fascinating things.
Hello. We've invented the Wappen map, which is a contoured metal map. It comes in a 2D format. It comes with a greetings card and a stand, and you can send it through the post. And then the recipient pulls the contours very carefully apart to create a 3D representation of the landscape. They're made of stainless steel, so they're quite hardy. And we've got various different areas, the main ones being Yorkshire Dales, Peak District, Lake District, Brecon Beacons, Snowdonia, and we also do Ben Nevis. They're great gifts for people that love the outdoors, I think, or climbing.
They are. They're about the size of a large postcard, so they'd easily slip through the post. And I'm just looking at some of them here. Snowdonia is always a very popular destination. We've got Collard Llewellyn, we've got Snowdon itself, we've got Tryfan, Penigent, and you look at them and you think, yep, that's Tryfan. That's the mountain, that's the ridge. And they're rather appealing. How on earth did you get the idea for this?
Well, I've been a metalworker for about 20 years, designing all sorts of tableware, giftware, that type of thing for about 20 years. And I'd made some very large contoured metal maps for an exhibition, and people really responded very well to them. And so I decided to make some much smaller, more affordable maps that people could interact with directly themselves and become part of the whole kind of process.
Well, they are fascinating. It's a great present for somebody who's a walker, a mountaineer or something like that. You can have your own little 3D metallic map, put it on the wall, put it on the coffee table, I guess, play with it, trace it. They're fantastic things. Now, it is difficult to explain these things by audio, but of course you're on the web. Your web address is?
It's www.wapentac.com, and that's spelled WAPENTAC. But probably if you just go in on Google and do contoured metal maps, you have a good chance of coming up with it.
And the website will give you a good idea of how it works and what they are?
Yes, that's correct, yes. Yeah.
I reckon these are the ideal kind of birthday present, kind of Christmas card present for an outdoor person, walker, mountaineer.
Yes. I mean, most of the ones we do sell tend to be gifts for people that enjoy something outdoors.
They're fantastic, and also a fantastic memento of your favourite spot or favourite hill as well. Alison, thanks very much and good luck.
Thank you very much, thanks.
Well, as Andy was also looking for the unusual and the popular, I was doing exactly the same, following little huddles of crowds who were showing interest in various stands. One of which was a bell tent. No, it wasn't any normal bell tent. This was the Vogue end of bell tent. It was exotic. It had carpets, it had a bed, it had a wood-burning stove, it had a candelabra, and it had a lot of interest. Now, as many people know, we're into more the lightweight approach, but that's just one area of camping. There's all sorts of different genres that people like to pursue, and this one is commonly known as glamping, glamorous camping. Tobin Cleaves is the owner of Bell Tent UK. So first of all, I asked him to explain for our listeners what glamping is all about.
The idea of glamping is grabbing half your house, filling up your car with it, going to a field, and then decking out your tent in a real sort of boudoir fashion. So it's really comfy. I've got a friend of mine called Bruce Parry, and his quote from my website is, "Any fool can be uncomfortable." And the whole point of it is just making really comfortable camping.
So describe the tent for people who are listening.
Okay, it's a classic bell tent, which is like a teepee, apart from it's got vertical walls all the way around that go up 60 centimetres, and then it's like a teepee. The great thing about a bell tent is you can roll the walls up, so if we're ever lucky enough to get a sunny day in this country, you can roll the walls up.
And the material it's made from?
100% unbleached cotton canvas, so it's old school.
So, coming back to the old school thing, the traditional canvas tents of years gone by obviously were a little bit dubious with regards to condensation and leaking and all this sort of thing. So have they solved all those problems now?
Yeah, it's completely solved. This is a 10-ounce canvas. Some people come up going, oh, that's really thin compared to what they're used to when they were, a scout or whatever. But the proofing has moved on so far now, and also the quality of the machining and everything, that you don't need to hump all that weight around. So yeah, this is a 10-ounce core, or 185 grams cotton. The tents start at 17 kilograms, so you wouldn't necessarily want to hike with it, but carrying it across the field from your car is not a problem. And they take about sort of 12 minutes to put up as well, so they're really quick to put up.
Now, you were saying that everything inside the tent is supplied, can be supplied by yourself, and it is very luxurious. We have a double bed, we have some headrests at the back there. We've got is that a sort of like a duvet fold down?
No, we do. These are cotton-filled mattresses from India, so they're actually they're rolled. You can roll them, use them as a bolster rolled up, or roll them out and actually sleep on them. We do cotton sleeping bags with sort of designers on them. But yeah, the whole idea is we've got this sister site which is called Camping with Soul. That's our accessory website. And so that's all this lovely stuff, the fluff, as we call it. Whereas Bell Tent UK is very much about selling, because scout groups and everyone buy off us. But yeah, it's just a modern take on a classic tent, really.
But I think it's the nice touches like the candelabra of candles you got here, and also a wood-burning fire, of course.
Yeah, we get these made in the UK. They're brilliant, actually. The legs unscrew and everything. And I've designed it so that the flue comes out of the side of the tent, not the roof. And because you've got these vertical walls and an overhanging roof, it just means that the rain don't have the rain issues of making a hole in your roof.
So you can actually do all the cooking and everything else in here on there?
Yeah, if you want to. They're best for giving the heat. Again, because it is quite close to the side of the tent. I wouldn't fry on it because you'll get fat on your roof. But yeah, it's great for kettles. I haven't actually got it on this particular stove, but we do an optional little water tank that goes on the side, and so you can have constant hot water if you want.
It's lovely. I mean, it really is a very, very romantic setup. Now, tell me about some of the customers that are buying these sort of things. Just describe who this really appeals to.
Well, we started selling these about 4 years ago. I basically bought one because I wanted it as my honeymoon suite when I got married, and they were £1,000, and I was just like, that's a ridiculous amount of money. So I then started looking abroad, and I found a manufacturer, got them made, and I sell them for about 299 quid now. When we started doing it, it was very much glamping people, so it was sort of people at private parties, festivals, VIP people. Now everyone's buying them because it is just, a lot of people are still doing this thing called staycationing. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's basically staying in this country because the exchange rate is so bad. And so a lot of normal families are now buying these because it's a lovely, lovely usable space, and you're getting back to camping. It's good.
And I suppose it's not just the actual going away and camping. You can put this up in the garden and actually have quite a good summer as well, being well.
Exactly, especially as the walls roll up. So you can end up with a really nice sort of chill-out zone or a playroom or whatever, and it's all good.
So to find more information about the obviously range of products you do and the sizes and prices and so, where can
come to the website? So it's www.belltent.co.uk or campingwithsoul.co.uk.
And do you just sell direct, or do you sell through any retailers?
No, we tried that and it doesn't really work. So we just sell direct. We concentrate on doing it right and sort of deal with it. It takes about sort of 3 days to come, but the website has got probably nearly 1,000 pictures on it. There's galleries. Everyone sends in their pictures of when they're glamping, so it's brilliant. So you can really get a good idea of what the tent's like before you buy it.
The home of UK-based audio and video podcasts for lovers of the great outdoors everywhere.
It's all about getting out and having much more fun.
Without doubt, one of Cicerone's most popular authors is Paddy Dillon. He's also one of our most popular regular interviewees. Paddy, welcome back to the Outdoor Station.
Thanks a lot.
Now you're here working like mad as ever, and I've lost track with the number of guidebooks we've got at the moment. But in the last year since we last seen you, you've done a trip that sounds really fascinating, and I think it's going to become something of a bit of a standard for those of us looking for something a bit different. And that's Greenland.
In Greenland, yeah. I only became aware of this trail, believe it or not, by walking on the Canary Island of El Hierro, and in the burning heat, on a long, dusty, ash-strewn trail, the words Arctic Circle Trail were mentioned by a German woman who was basically taking a holiday on El Hierro, and I thought, Arctic Circle Trail? Where's that? I mean, presumably it's in the Arctic. And she told me, yes, it's in Greenland, where she worked as a tour guide in the summer, and it stretches more or less from the international airport to the coast and takes about 9 days to cover. So
is that a first, an international trail that starts at the airport?
I think it must be.
It's a good innovation, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't think of any other international airports I've ever landed at where I've just walked away with my bag and I'm actually already on the trail. But the thing is, it's also within a day's walk of the ice cap. So I thought to myself, I'll start by going in the wrong direction. I'm going to go up to the ice cap. I'd love to see it, love to set foot on it, and then I'll walk my Arctic Circle trail from the ice cap all the way to the sea. And not only that, but back again. That was my plan.
Now, I gather there's a guidebook somewhere in the preparation for this, so maybe over the next couple of years a lot of us can explore it. But come on, take me through what's unique about it, because I get the feeling it was quite an experience.
Yeah, it's quite an experience because it's one of these trails where everything, and I mean absolutely everything, has to go with you, because once you start, you're not going to get any chance to resupply. If any of your gear breaks, if anything wears out, if anything happens to you, it's up to you to sort it out. I mean, it's a remote trail. It's by no means a difficult trail, but you are in the wilds, and when you get to, say, the halfway point, you're a minimum of, say, 3.5, 4 days walk from help. So if anything happens to you in the middle, you're basically at the mercy of anyone else who comes along. So you really do need to be not a sort of, an out-and-out adventurer, but you need to know what you're doing in the wilds, because you have to look after yourself, cook for yourself, sort out all your own route finding for yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you.
So you mentioned that terrain isn't particularly difficult, but I guess it's long, big days with wonderful camp spots. But there are huts along the trail, aren't there?
Yeah, there's a series of huts. Sort of the first one you would actually come across is like an unofficial hut, because it's really just an old caravan that was parked in the middle of the tundra, and then a couple of wooden huts were added to it. So that's like an unofficial one. The rest are all official huts, and they occur at nice intervals, say between 10 and 20 kilometres. So like I say, if you actually approach this trail in the right frame of mind, it's not actually a difficult trail to walk. The days aren't immense. But the other thing is, Greenland being Greenland, wide open country, wild camping is allowed virtually anywhere. I think the only place it's forbidden is within 20 metres of an archaeological site. So wild camping is actually made for that. But if the weather is against you and your tent is going to blow away, then by all means fall back on the huts.
I was going to ask you about the weather. I guess you were there sometime during the summer months, but what can we expect if we're walking day after day on the trail?
Yeah, I deliberately went between the end of August and beginning of September. Now what happens there is you get a very stable period of weather generally, but it is weather. It can change from day to day. The weather's either going to come from the east or the west. If it comes from the east, it's coming off the ice cap, so it's cold, dry air, and it just whips across the tundra. And if you put your tent in the way of it, it'll flap around. So you get a restless night, if you like, and it'll be cold. But the thing is, it will also be clear and sunny. And the moment you can find a little hollow out of that wind, you feel the temperature rise. I mean, you're in great sort of, clear blue skies and sunshine, but the further west you go, the more mixed the weather will come. It's always different near the coast. But the place where the trail starts, at the international airport at Kangerlussuaq, that has the best weather in the whole of Greenland. 300 clear days a year. Now I can't say sunny days a year, because for half the year it's like night time. It's north of the Arctic Circle, so the sun goes down and doesn't reappear. But the sky is clear for 300 days in the year. When you get to the western end, where the trail finishes at Cicerone, a small town on the coast, the weather is mixed, so you'll get your showery day and your sunny day. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is the seasons. It's not a winter walk. By no means is it a winter walk. It's exclusively confined to the very brief summer months. Start in June and you're going to have trouble with the meltwater. When everything's melting and the rivers are high and you have to ford them, that's when you have problems. July, the water's gone down. It's now waist deep instead of chest deep. Come the end of July and into August, it's down to knee deep, and then when I went it was below knee deep. But the other big problem with the seasons, or the summer season, are the mosquitoes. Soon after the melt, the mosquitoes start. and they start about mid-June, and they will descend on any warm-blooded animal, humans included, and won't give up until nearly the end of August. So I went at the end of August, I got the last of the good weather and none of the mosquitoes.
Sounds like a good tip to me. Now, as ever, I guess, when we're opening up new trails, there's a bit of a premium to pay in terms of price for exploring them. So, how expensive a holiday is it, and how easy is it to get there?
The big expense is your flight to Greenland. Now, if you put your thinking head on and plan it all out properly, it needn't cost a penny more. Now, that's with qualifications, because the flight is the most expensive element, but Air Greenland, which only flies from Copenhagen to Kangerlussuaq, you can't get there any other way. Air Greenland does have some economy fares. If you get in there quick enough, you'll get the economy fare, but you certainly won't get a budget fare. No such thing in Greenland as budget travel. So the travel is the most expensive part. If you take a bag full of trekking food with you, you don't need to buy anything from the shops, and as everything in Greenland is imported, prices are high. So you need to be aware of that. Accommodation is expensive in Greenland, even for the most basic hotel accommodation is very expensive. So if you can limit your spending in Greenland, if you can take your trekking food with you, then basically your flight there can be the only expense, and then you can walk the whole trail for free. Costs nothing to camp, costs nothing to use the huts. You'll have to buy a can of gas or a bottle of spirit for burning, because you won't be able to take that on the plane, but you should be able to do the trail without incurring any further expense. But just to give you an idea, it could cost you £75 to £100 per night to stay in a hotel. But at Cicerone there is a hostel which works out about £15 a night, and anything on top of that is extra. You'd have the use of the kitchen, the dormitories for the £15. Washing and drying your smelly clothes after 9 or 10 days on the trail might cost you another £5. And so for 20 quid you're suddenly in the lap of luxury. And that is the only place I know of on the trail where you're actually going to get any kind of service for that sort of price. Anything else you pay a premium for.
And the only person I know that's ever been there told me that the people are incredibly hospitable.
The people are amazing. I mean, you're either going to meet Danish people who have either moved there or were born and reared there, and Inuit people, the native people. The Inuits generally don't speak that much English. The Danish generally speak a bit of English. So when it comes to conversations, it can be a bit sort of awkward at times just to get things understood. But anyone involved in the tourist industry will speak English and German. And they would be the main visitors. Germans more than any, than the British. But I noticed from the visitor books in the huts that virtually every single European country, as well as America and Canada, had visitors on that trail, walking it and writing down their experiences. But the people are great, I mean, they generally, if they're not working in tourism, they're generally working in the field of fishing and hunting. And when it comes to what Greenland is self-sufficient in, it's basically any kind of seafood, from shrimps up to whales, and then land mammals such as muskox and reindeer. But anything else, all food stuff is brought into the country, and you pay the price for that.
So it's worth taking your own food, but giving yourself a bit of scope to sample some of that seafood.
Yeah, the seafood is incredible. I never ever managed to find a piece of whale or seal. I would have loved to have tried just a taste sample. But once I did actually manage to get a Greenlandic meal where a variety of things were laid before me, such as a little sliver of reindeer meat, some muskox, berries. They're very good on blueberries, which they pick in the summer. So I have tried some Greenlandic foods, and they are really quite interesting and intriguing. But traditionally, the Inuit diet was almost 100% meat. And you might think that would be bad for you, but because a big proportion of the meat was seal meat, which is not bad with cholesterol, they actually were quite healthy people until we came along as Westerners and introduced them to bad things like sugar and alcohol.
As ever, I guess. Now you walked the trail, but you also did this excursion to the ice cap. So I guess when the book comes out, it's going to take us through that kind of journeys. How long are we talking about to do the whole trip?
Well, my little side trip to the ice cap was 37 kilometres from the airport to the edge of the ice cap. Now, that might sound like a lot, but I did that in a day, and I did that twice. And the reason you can do that fast is because some years ago, only a few years ago, Volkswagen paid to have a dirt road built from the airport to the ice cap with a view to having a secret testing facility on the ice for their cars, where they would subject them to extreme low temperatures. Now, the road was built, the testing base was never built, and the road was then promptly handed over to the local municipality to do with as they wished. So basically, there's a perfectly fast, walkable dirt road that is also used occasionally by four-wheel drive vehicles and four-wheel drive tour buses to get people up and down to the ice cap. I just couldn't resist the idea of walking at great speed to the ice cap, just feeling the joy of being the only person stood on the ice cap that day, in no doubt, and then bailing out backwards and then starting the Arctic Circle Trail. So it was like a hefty one-day extension, which could be done over a period of 2 days, much easier.
And the whole trail, we're talking about how long?
Talking about, and most people would reckon on about 9 days of walking for the trail. So if you add an extension to the ice cap, if you went up there by tour bus and then walked back, you're probably talking 10 days to walk the whole trail. But the 9 days is based on a hut-to-hut schedule. If you work outside that, if you wild camp, if you're a good strong walker, you could do the whole thing in a week or less.
Yeah, but you want to enjoy the solitude, so probably including flight time and orientation time, it's probably a 2-week holiday, really.
2 weeks with it would just fit in perfectly, and assuming you had no problem with the weather and that you went at a time of year when you weren't going to be hampered by the early meltwater in the rivers, because you do have to ford rivers, and one of those rivers is notoriously difficult to ford. Now, recently, just in the past couple of years, a footbridge was installed, but there are no markers, no signposts and no path to the footbridge, and it's 3 kilometres downstream from where you would normally ford, and some people have spent a lot of time floundering around in bog trying to locate this footbridge, only to find out they'd have been better off fording the river anyway. So I keep thinking of the footbridge as a bridge too far after the classic film. It's just a bit too far to be worth bothering with, but if you really have to use it, it's there.
Now, you mentioned bogs. My ears always prick up at that point. The trail is waymarked, is it?
It's waymarked in that the original plan, they went in and they built stone cairns roughly every kilometre, and then said to the first walkers, if you would build intermediate cairns, that will be most helpful. But when it was first marked over a decade ago, there was little trace of an actual path. Even though people were in the habit of travelling between Kangerlussuaq and Sisimiut, there was little trace of a trodden path. When the cairns went in and people made a beeline from cairn to cairn, a narrow trodden path evolved in the what you call like moorland scrub. It's actually dwarf trees. The trees are no more than about 4 or 5 inches high, but they are trees. So although it looks like you're walking on a moorland, you're actually walking in a vast forest, just treading these little trees underfoot. But the cairns are the only markers. There are no signposts, and most of the cairns have a red semicircle painted on one of the stones, and that is a design taken from the Greenlandic national flag. So it's intended to represent the sun in the middle of its passage across the sky, just as it's sinking below the horizon before vanishing for the winter. So that's the design, a red semicircle painted on a large stone incorporated into a cairn. That is the marking system. But quite honestly, I can't really imagine anyone having trouble with route finding. But if you were really hopeless at route finding, if you did completely lose the trail, you could be gone forever and no one would know where you were. So you have to bear that in mind. You're the only person who knows where you are.
I've got a funny feeling this is going to become a future classic. So thanks for doing all the exploration work for us, as ever. You're here for 2 days, of course, working hard, talking about lightweight stuff, the islands, I guess.
I'm talking on the subject of lightweight backpacking, and so it's like, how heavy is your pack? My pack is exceedingly heavy because it's absolutely crammed with lightweight gear. You know, tons of stuff I would never dream of taking away with me, doubling up on things. So, of course, I've got things I can compare and contrast there. And then when I load up a pack, it's likely going to end up at 5 kilos, something like that. I'm also talking about the GR20 in Corsica, the Pennine Way, for which I've just had a guidebook published. I've only just seen it in the last couple of hours. And the GR221, the long-distance walk through the mountains of Mallorca.
And what's on the planning horizon for the next 12 months?
Well, I've just got back from a whole month in Sardinia, and that's the second time I've spent a whole month there. So as soon as I can find a couple of weeks spare, I can actually write that up and get it delivered, and it should be published within the next year. And then I'm off to the Channel Islands to take an old guidebook of mine that covers the entire island group and split it evenly between Jersey and Guernsey, update the whole thing in full colour with new mapping, and then go to Iceland for the whole summer and not come home until either the weather's too bad to walk or until they physically kick me out of the country.
So, as busy a time as ever. Well, I guess we'll be talking about both Sardinia and Iceland at some point in the future. Paddy, have a good show.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to seeing you again.
The home of UK-based audio and video podcasts for outdoors people everywhere.
You're listening to the outdoorstation.co.uk.
1 million listeners worldwide can't be wrong.
I'm once again with Sam from Shewee, and we've spoken to Sam several times over the last 5 years since she first started. Of course, a lot of people remember her from the appearance on Dragon's Den, where they didn't quite go for it, but you've had several appearances on Dragon's Den since then, looking at where are they now. So where are you now?
Yeah, where are we now? Well, we've just moved into our third set of offices about 4 months ago because we were too big for the last ones, and at the same time I've recruited 2 more people, so there's 5 of us officially now, and then we have to get contractors in to help us with the other bits and bobs. So going really well, growing people-wise because we need more staff to help run the office. Space, we've had to take on a warehouse as well for the stock demand, which is fantastic. And also we've started just this year with some new products. So before we had 2 colours, now we've got 5. We've got the NATO green and the desert sand. The NATO green came about obviously because we thought the ladies in the armed forces wanted something to camouflage, but also I have to say there's been an unusual market area that we never knew was around before, and it's a transsexual market. And they wanted a colour that would be more body coloured, so that's the desert sand for the white guys and the NATO green for the black guys.
Well, there's something that you wouldn't necessarily think about. I mean, the Shewee is a very, very simple device. How has the business developed for 5 years on one idea and kept going and grown so well?
I guess, yeah, when you start with one idea, you have fantastic publicity to start with, but you need, like you say, keep the momentum going. And I think adding the new colours, although you might think, oh, it's not such a big thing, it is quite a big thing for girls wanting to match their mobile or match their backpack or whatever. So that's helped us, and it's newsworthy enough for people to say, oh, this has worked, and oh, people want it in different colours now. But we've also introduced a few other products. You may have seen some pants, underwear that we had before. They were okay, but we've designed some special ones now that have actually got an X in the front of them, which is a perfect fly for use with the Shewee. So again, that's something to shout about, and perhaps the pants will take a while to kick in and be popular, but it helps with the promotion of the Shewee, because the people were perhaps a bit unsure before, thinking, oh, well, if they're designing pants now, then the Shewee must be fantastic. And I think because of these new market areas that are coming about, we've started with the outdoor industry, but as I say, the transsexuals have come about, and now also the pharmacies and the medical industry. I deliberately before didn't want to promote the product to that area because I didn't want regular outdoor people to think, oh, it's just a medical product. But now we're safe in the knowledge that 90% of outdoor people have heard of it. We can go into the medical industry without regular people thinking, oh, it's just for disabled people or it's just for hospitals. And a stat that's quite interesting, we just worked it out this week, we sell 1 Shewee every 10 minutes in the world. So
Congratulations. Frightening thought. Again, I think the last conversation we had probably a couple of years ago, you had either just taken on or you were just about to take on distribution in America and I think Australia. How does that all work out for you?
That's going well. America hasn't done as well as we'd hoped. Unfortunately, it was just personal reasons for the company who'd taken it on to distribute it. So we've taken that back in-house, and we still work with that company out there, but we run it from here. But New Zealand has been brilliant. The person who does it there has set up her own small version of our offices here, and also employs people in Australia to distribute there. But we've got 19 countries now, worldwide. So I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but I've got an international marketing lady who works with them. The other very good one we've got is Spain, so the packaging's always been translated into Spanish, and South Africa. And the South Africans have introduced Shewee into the mines, because in the UK I don't think there's that many lady miners, but in South Africa there's a huge amount, and the toilet situation is pretty non-existent, and so the women have suffered. And it's huge. The mining industry in South Africa is massive. So,
well, congratulations. I mean, it's fantastic to hear the success of the story, and it just goes to show that if you have a good, simple idea and approach it well, you can really take it forward. And so that's 5 years now. And we always say, where does the future look for you? What's the next thing for you?
I think the next thing for Shewee is to make the model that's worked in the UK work in the other countries. We sell the product to the people who are interested in the other countries, but up until 6 months ago, we didn't hold their hands, we didn't give them much guidance, we just let them run with it. But now we've got a model that works well in the UK, and it's obviously been proven to grow. We're going to be working closer with our overseas distributors, and we're going to start with the English-speaking countries first, because it makes sense, and try and mirror that, because the UK is a small place, so if we can mirror what we've done in the UK, in America, for example, we should be laughing, fingers crossed.
Is there any sort of cultural differences that you've come across that's taken you by surprise in these different countries?
Yeah, again, talking about the US, the way we describe the product, and we've had to change the packaging for them, is quite different. We find that US citizens, the ones who don't live in New York or in the cosmopolitan areas, are perhaps 10, 15 years behind the UK, so they're a little bit more embarrassed. The women are less outspoken than the British women. And first time I came to the outdoor show, we found a lot of the men pulling their women away from, "Oh, Shewee, no." But now the women walk straight up to us and their husbands go and look at something else. So I think that's the cultural difference we've got to get over in the States. New Zealand's fine, Australia's great. I think they're even more open-minded than the British. So we find different countries, there's different things to get around.
Well, certainly from my own experience in the last 5 years, and certainly when I saw you for Here Festival 5 years ago, Shewee is definitely, it's a word that's entered into the outdoor language now, and it's obviously sometimes said in jest and sometimes said as advice, and I've heard a lot of guys actually suggest to females who are struggling, what you need is one of these, so that's proof that you really have penetrated the marketplace in a very big way, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
One thing Andy and I did notice this year was the sheer volume of walking opportunities at the outdoor show, where there were numerous walking festivals, numerous outdoor festivals, places to visit, etc., etc. And it's growing, which is good. It gets people out and enjoying things, and also, let's face it, it's not as expensive as some exotic travel. Now, there is one of the walking festivals looming is on the Isle of Wight, and Andy went to speak to Paddy to find out more about what's going on offshore.
I know lots of walkers are always looking at ways to combine their walking passion with a more softer general holiday, and I'm at a stand with Paddy that's promoting the Isle of Wight Walking Festival. Paddy, this looks quite a fun weekend.
It's a great week. We do it for a fortnight. This year, in particular, we've got 310 different walks going on, from mile walks to 72-mile walks in 24 hours. So
72 miles in. Now, that's not something you'd associate with the island, is it?
It's not, no, but it does attract a lot of people, and it's always very successful. So it's a challenge.
No, it's a very popular tourist destination, and but it manages to pack an awful lot into a small space, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the event season now goes from, we start in around about April time. It used to be finishing, the Isle of Wight used to go dead in about September, but now there's things going on right to the end of November, early December now, so it's picked up a lot. The Isle of Wight's alive, it's great.
So the festival is in May, and it's a week. And presumably there's a whole range of things you can do during that week, and a whole range of accommodation that you benefit from a traditional tourist resort.
Yeah, from self-catering to camping. If you want your quiet campsites, there's plenty of quiet campsites as well as your havens and your family entertainment ones. But it's busy. It's great, and there's all something to do. The walking festival, the cycling festival. You've got your pop festivals now as well. So it's great.
There is a big move towards more sustainable forms of tourism, isn't there? And not only do they help us indulge in cycling or walking and keep fit, but they stretch your season, don't they, over a longer period. And but just looking on the TV screen behind us, there seem to be hordes of people there. So obviously something that's growing.
Yeah, I mean, the one that you were just looking at there was quite a popular walk. It's the Ghost Walk. And the one that you were looking at there was in Shanklin. The guy, Mark Tuckey, that does that, very entertaining, knows a lot about the Isle of Wight, where the ghosts allegedly are, and it's just great. It's just very entertaining.
So we're talking about walking, but there's a tremendous amount of variety in that.
Oh, from your flat walks, your linear walks, cross-country walks, there's just so many. 310 we're doing in a week this year, and that's a lot of walks.
That's fantastic. And if somebody's fascinated by this and they want to have a look at it, I guess you're on the web somewhere?
Yeah, we're on the on the website. If you log on to the Isle of Wight Council, isleofwight.gov.uk, you'll find all the information there. So
just Google Isle of Wight Walking Festival.
It's wonderful.
Paddy, thanks very much.
Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Many of our listeners, like Andy and myself, have been to Scotland at some stage, perhaps, and done some walking. Now, when we were out in the Highlands, Andy and I have both commented a couple of times on seeing the signs from the John Muir Trust, which are usually on the side of the trail as you're walking past. Sometimes they have leaflets, sometimes it's just posters, sometimes it's just an information plaque about what they're doing in the area. Now, as much as we've been there and obviously used some of the trails as well as been aware of the John Muir Trust, we've never actually found out more information. So as they had a stand there, Andy went to see James and found that the membership level had just passed 10,000, which is a major landmark for such a small association.
It is a landmark for the Trust. We were established in 1983 and we've grown from quite a small membership to a membership of 10,000, which may be small in international terms, but in the UK context, it is quite an achievement for us. We own several areas of wildland across Scotland mainly. We have a UK emphasis, and in order to provide both the John Muir Award, which has been very successful, another landmark for us actually is 100,000 John Muir Trust award holders, and that's an award which fosters an encouragement of appreciation for the natural environment and to discover a wild place, find out about it and understand a bit more about why it's wild and what keeps it wild and do something to conserve it. So to do that work and to actually do the work on our estates, the land that we actually manage, we need more members, and 10,000 members is absolutely brilliant. That allows us to be sustainable, to manage the land that we have for the benefit of the wild animals and plants that exist there.
Yeah, we'll come back to membership in a minute as to how you can support the work of the Trust, but I think a lot of people have heard of it, but maybe not aware that, I mean, some of our very best wilderness spaces, certainly in Scotland, are in the ownership of the Trust. I'm looking at the list here. There's Sandwood Bay, Gwynag and Ben Nevis. But your partnership work is particularly fascinating. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, we have quite a few partners, and really what we're trying to do with our partners is encourage them to take on an attitude of care of the environment. In many areas, especially in Scotland, we have partners with crofting groups which have purchased the land under the Land Reform Act, which is coming in Scotland just after the Scottish Parliament was set up. And really what we're trying to do there is to support them in their activities, especially with environmental stewardship. And where we can, financial support; where we can't, we provide our expertise in looking after wild areas. So what we're really trying to do with this is broaden our appeal, if you like, and our ethos of conserving wild areas of the country, and just spreading that ethos to these other groups.
These partnerships are extraordinarily powerful, aren't they? A few years ago, spent a little bit of time in Inverary in the Knoydart, and there's a fascinating, almost like new little community building up in the most sustainable way. in one of the most wild parts of the country. But I guess without that partnership, the whole endeavour wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah, I mean, that was our first area of land in Knoydart, and to really look at the wider impacts of doing something there, we needed the community involvement. And to have the Knoydart Partnership on board and to be involved with the Knoydart Partnership is really important for us. And as you say, there's a thriving community on Knoydart, and if you ever get the chance to go, I definitely encourage you. It's quite different from what you would find in most mainland areas, very much an island community. And we've helped them really in terms of their environmental projects. But again, it's gained us an understanding of what communities in these areas actually need and how we can support them in achieving their aims.
Okay, well, there's more than Knoydart, of course. There's Assington, there's the Nevis Partnership and the North Howes Trust, amongst others. A lot of people don't appreciate they can join the trust. So we were just talking about the 10,000 members. So if somebody wanted to learn a bit more, wanted to become a member, how would they find out about you?
I think the best way is to have a look at our website if you have internet access, and that's www.jmt.org. And that's all the information, not only on what the trust is doing, but also on how to join the trust. We have a very active membership, so in different areas of the country they organise lectures and have get-togethers, and can even come out to the estates and do some conservation work if you want to give something back to the wild places that all of us love.
Okay, so it's not just passive support, it's campaigning, it's about actually getting out there, volunteering and helping keep these places special.
Absolutely, it's about keeping the special wild places that we have special, and you can do that either by becoming a member or by coming out to one of our estates and helping out.
James, thanks very much. Good luck for the next 12 months, and may you go from strength to strength.
Thanks.
Well, that pretty well wraps up this smorgasbord of a show. I hope you've enjoyed the mixed content and it's kept you entertained for half an hour or so. One thing that I would like to mention that I picked up just recently myself, actually, on another podcast, which is Pods and Blogs, which is the BBC 5 podcast, dated 6th of April. For people interested in online and digital mapping and the release of data, there's a very interesting interview with Chris Vallance from BBC 5 about the data that will be coming our way, and as I say, that's Pods and Blogs dated 6th of April. Okay, well, that's it. I'm going to get this edited and uploaded, and then I'm going to jump on my bike and go for a ride. Hope you're having a good weekend, and let's keep our fingers crossed this weather stays more pleasant for the rest of the summer. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear more from our extensive free library, please visit the website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
You can now follow The Outdoor Station on Facebook, where we chat about each programme we produce, answer questions and discuss future productions. Why not join us there?
This podcast is produced and hosted by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.